SCP-093. SCP-093 must remain on a mirror at all times under video surveillance. Admittance into the area of SCP-093's containment must be authorized only with proper video recording and subject retrieval procedures in place. Any attempt to use SCP-093 outside of an approved test will be dealt with severely, up to and including termination. SCP-093 is a primarily red disc carved from a stone composite resembling cinnabar, with circular engravings and unknown symbols carved at 0.5 cm depth around the entire object. Deeper cuts are present on SCP-093 with a depth of 1 to 1.5 cm. SCP-093 is 7.62 cm in diameter and fits comfortably in most of the palms without abrasion. SCP-093 will change hue when held by a living individual. The colors taken by SCP-093 are still being researched to establish a link. Current belief holds that the changes depend upon the regrets carried by the holder. If SCP-093 is removed from the mirror and not held by a person, it will seek out the nearest mirror-like surface. SCP-093 has been observed to travel in the largest possible circle when rolling, building at phenomenal speed. Its mechanism of acceleration is currently unknown. If an obstacle between SCP-093 and the nearest mirror-like surface is present, it will use its momentum to punch through the obstacle and continue its course at this speed. It will only stop when the mirror-like surface is contacted. Despite tremendous impact velocities, no damage will be dealt to SCP-093 or the mirror. Testing of SCP-093 against conditions set forth for its distant containment procedures to assess viability of continuing such containment, beginning with changing the type of mirror as a position used as a position of rest. SCP-093-T1 Containment Test. Mirrored surface, brass frame, retail-grade mirror. SCP-093 rests without activity when placed on the mirror. This test alone removes the need for costly silver or wooden containment systems. Standard-grade table. SCP-093 turns upright but begins to roll across the surface table in one direction, making a U-turn and rolling it to the other, completing an oval shape and repeating its action until a mirror is brought into the vicinity of it. At which time SCP-093 rolls towards the mirror and lifts flatways against it, sliding towards the center. It is noted that despite the grainy feel of SCP-093, it does not mark the mirror in any fashion while moving across it. Two mirrors at either end of a standard-grade table. SCP-093 gravitates towards the closer mirror regardless of orientation and makes no distinction between the two different types of mirrors, favoring a factor of distance above all else when choosing the mirror to move to. Mirror held by person and moved around. SCP-093 follows the mirror as it moves, gaining speed until reaching a maximum velocity is reached. At any velocity, the impact of 093 against the mirrored surface results in no damage to either object. Person holding SCP-093 placing it on a mirror. This test was accidental, resulting in one of the staff tripping another after some debate over who would be covering the lunch tab. As a result of the behavior of the researchers, it was discovered that the person holding SCP-093 and placing it against the mirror will in fact move into the mirror. Containment testing discontinued after establishing that SCP-093 only requires a mirror to rest inert. Testing on human interaction with mirrors while holding SCP-093 is authorized by Dr. SCP-093-T2 Mirror Test. Subjects testing SCP-093 must wear a Class 3 buckle harness strapped to the chest and attached to a tension pulley system allowing for 300 meters of movement. Additional spools may be added to extend movement if necessary. The clasp connecting these spools must be high-grade and capable of withstanding applied force of 0.2 tons. A field kit consistent with the following should be standard issue for SCP-093. 1 wrist-mounted light source with 3 hours battery life and additional power sources providing up to 6 additional hours. 4.5-liter water bottles with water. 4 MREs of any type plus 2 plain granola bars. Chocolate chips are allowed. 1 standard issue Beretta 9mm firearm with 24 rounds of ammunition loaded. This is not to be issued until the subject has passed into a mirror using SCP-093 and should be given under armed supervision, ensuring that the subject passes through entirely. This item is to be requisitioned upon the subject's return, and subject is to be made aware of this before leaving a line of sight with SCP-093's mirror. 1 standard issue field knife. Subject is not to be made aware of this item and must find it on his own within the kit. The subject must also be attached into a video system, with a camera mounted on the subject's head or shoulders. The video device should be a cable-based and allow for the same lane to travel as the return system. Wireless cameras have shown mixed results and should only be used in testing conditions where SCP-093 is a currently known color. New colors must be tested using wide feed. During testing, the color of SCP-093 must be recorded, as well as the history of the subject and terms for their incarceration to identify how SCP-093 determines the color to assume. A link appears connected to a guilt or lack thereof of the subject psyche. In the subject psyche, the attached results should be read in order. Mirror Test 1, color blue. Subject is D20384, male, 34 years of age, strong physique. Subject background shows instance of murder and attempted suicide. Subject is cooperative in all steps of testing. Subject entered the provided mirror while holding SCP-093, which emitted a blue color. Outside technicians have observed that the mirror retains a true reflection until the subject had completely passed into it, at which time the view changed to an outdoor landscape, heavily tinged in blue. The video feed follows in the attached media. The camera activates, flickers to view. Subject is looking over the same field reported by technicians. Looks like typical lowland plains. Everything has a heavy blue tinge overlapping the normal colors. No discernible landmarks visible as the subject pans view left to right, only grass, weeds, and a breeze moving through the taller grass. No trees, no living beings visible. Subject moves forward as instructed, traveling for approximately 500 steps before something becomes visible. A patch of the land up ahead is barren and the grass can be seen dying as the subject approaches it. Approximately 300 steps forward, the subject is standing before a hole in the ground. The hole has been dug using unknown tools of primitive origin. A pulley system engaged and the camera suffers a light shudder. Subject is instructed to enter the hole, and after mild protest agrees to do so. There is no apparent method of descent, such as a ladder or rope. Subject relies entirely on his own hands before the pulley system to slow the descent. Approximately 100 meters of cable is used before a bottom is reached. Light source provided in a field kit activates 50 meters down when outside sources become unreliable. Sweeping gestures of the light reveal nothing more than dirt even at the bottom of the hole. Subject moves forward with assistance of light source. Asked about the blue tinge, subject expresses confusion, says there is no such tinge from his perspective, and never was. Light is visible down the passage, and 150 meters of cable has been used. Out of the camera's eye, sound is recorded of the firearm being prepared. When questioned about these actions, subject states justify precaution and moves forward. Tunnel turns from bare dirt to concrete enclosure. Subject complains of a stench. The light source is revealed to be ceiling light fixtures, a series of which less than a quarter broken while others function. A series of 6 doors, 3 to a side, span before the camera view, and the 7th door visible at the end of the corridor that has been blocked by what appears to be generic metal shelving debris. Debris shows signs of rusting and is typical of retail store units suggesting other human presences. Subject requested to try doors, in whatever order he chooses. He tries the first door on the right, but it's locked. It does not open. Second door tries to open, but does not bulge. It's not budge. Unlocked, but blocked. Closing second door, third door is tried, same results as first. Going out the other side of the door does fully open and light is bright in the room. Portable light switched off at this time as subject pans camera in to inspect room. The room is bare, no contents, but the walls are filthy. The subject states material on the walls isn't dirt, but he can't identify it. Seems to resemble melted plastic, but is brown in color rather than black. Door is closed. Second door on the left has no handle, does not move when pushed. The hole where the handle is plugged is plugged by unknown material. All doors are shaped in such a way that nothing can visibly escape from the sides or space for movement is too thin to look through even at the ground level. First door on the left hand is locked, but part of the key is present in the lock from the stem ridges. The back has been broken off. With effort, subject manipulates the key to open the door, immediately begins coughing, complaining of a stench. Walls of room are clean as in floor. The ceiling is coated in the same strange raw material that was in the third room. In this room, there is a makeshift cot made from aged blankets and a pillow, a wooden crate containing an open box of what appears to have been foodstuffs. Language appears on video as Skittles. However, subject states they were simply read cereal. A second crate in the room contains what appears to be empty water bottles that have since dried out. A book lays next to the cot, closed, no title or identifying marks. On the wall are what appear to be clipped articles, but language cannot be read. Subject asked to remove clippings for retrieval. All articles but one crumble at the touch due to the age. The intact article is put in a field sample container and seems to be the most recent compared to the others. Asked to investigate the book, subject begins to move towards it. Audio on tape goes strange, and a high-pitched screeching noise like grinding metal dominates all communications for 3.5 seconds. Subject does not touch the book still, and when the noise stops, subject is asked Control to repeat request. Control have made no request during that time as headsets were removed. Subject advised to leave the room and notes that door has begun closing slowly on its own and if left alone. Will close. Subject advised to leave the door alone and investigate the door on the right. Careful view of the following 10 seconds of tape shows as the camera pans, a figure is visible at the end of the tunnel where the seventh door is. The door opens only enough for a face to be seen through a crack just before the door silently closes. No other details can be seen. Subject investigates the second door on the right, with no mention of anything seen out of the ordinary. This door moves and pushed against, after repeated bashings, moves enough to view inside at an angle. A corkboard is visible with more articles attached to it. A box of cereal can be seen on the floor, and what appears to be a hand lying palm up. Subject closes door and pans camera past door 7, which remains closed. Seeing nowhere else to explore, subject is requested to return. Subject poses no protests and complains of ever-increasing stench. As subject returns back to down tunnel, his camera feed does not change or show anomaly, but Control reports a sudden surge in cable movement, pulling an additional 100 meters of cable through it before going slack again when tightening. Video feed shows subject ascending tunnel slowly while the Control attempts to verify integrity of the pulley system. Subject requested to stop ascent, but it states he is not climbing. The rope is pulling him up. Panic sets in on both sides, and subject is informed of a ready firearm. Upon reaching the top of the hole, nothing is visible on camera, and subject reports nothing has changed in the landscape. Then begins a return trip following the path of cable. Traveling for approximately 900 steps, subject is asked how much cable he used. Control admits they are unsure due to complications but subject traveled in a straight line to reach the hole, so it should be a straight line back. Subject becomes concerned when he states that more cable is visible now, moving in a 90-degree angle away from the point on the ground. Subject pans camera around in circles slowly. On film, behind subject, a crowd of 37 accountable figures stand silently. Features are unidentifiable, and they are lacking the blue tinge that dominates the rest of the landscape. Panic breaks in Control again, but subject notes only oddity as being the cable having an angled path. Subject touches the end of the cable and it is taut but does not move. The Control begins to reel in the pulley system and slack rapidly winds. Watching the angled cable movement can be seen as grass is disturbed further down the angled portion of the reeling, then in the line vibrates as it meets the resistance and emits a twang from the recoil. Subject's camera pans back along length of cable, which now appears to slowly be allowing more slack before suddenly all slack is returned and pulley system begins again. Control requests subject return following cable path, and screams are caught on the audio with panic from subject. 5 shots fired as subject aims pistol at something not visible on camera. Control reports being able to see subject returning point of origin, while camera shows wire disappearing into a point floating through the air. As subject passes this point, all cable is now in the pulley system and the camera films only the floor. Control reports that the mirror took approximately 5 seconds to return to a reflection. SCP-093 remained blue in color until 1 hour after being recovered from the subject. A vile-smelling fluid was present on subject's clothes, around his hands, and firearm was recovered. The fluid dried quickly and was deemed insignificant of study due to lack of quality sample. Control personnel monitoring the mirror stated having seen a massive humanoid being crawling on the ground. easily 50 times the size of a normal person with no facial features and very short arm reach, pulling itself towards the mirror before it returned to reflection. Due to proximity, fine details could not be made out, but at least one observer noted the faces that the being appeared to have been shot from the marks in the otherwise smooth, featureless face. Field test kit recovered from subject containing a newspaper article that reads, and was filed as item Mirror test 2, color green. Subject is D54493, female 23 years of age, average physique. Subject background shows instance of grand theft auto and second-degree murder of 2 children during escape with vehicle. Subject is cooperative in all steps of testing. Subject entered the provided mirror while holding SCP-093, which emitted a green color. Outside technicians observed that the mirror retained a true reflection until the subject had completely passed into it, at which time the view changed to a farming landscape heavily tinged in green. Similar to the first test, video feed follows an attached media. Camera activates and filters to view. Subject is looking out over the same farmland reported by technicians. All green through video feed are deeper in tinge and overlays and normal colors of objects, similar to the blue tinge in Test 1. No landmarks in Test 1 are discernible as subject pans camera over area. Present is a field long abandoned in the middle of which stands the remains of a scarecrow of unknown design. Fragments are left rotted and torn, nothing grows in the tilled land. A farmhouse is visible to the right of the field. 2 stories, basement shelter entrance is visible at one end. Subject prepares for sidearm immediately and is asked by control to relax before proceeding. Heavy breathing dominating the audio feed. Subject takes a few minutes and announces she's fine, and proceeds as directed to walk the perimeter of the farmhouse. Children's bicycles, 2 boys and girls, lie against the house near the shelter doors. One of the doors to the shelter lies in the grass, torn from the entrance as evidenced by splintering wood. On the stairs lie clothes arranged in descending order. Shoes to shirt going down them, belonging to a boy. Subject begins screaming at Control, asking if some sort of sick joke. Control assures her that they have never seen this environment either and to please calm down. Subject takes several minutes to regain herself before continuing. It is unknown if SCP-093 is linking the subject's past with her landscape. After several minutes, subject agrees to continue. Communication is subject is muted. A conversation of Control making commentary about subject's jittery attitude make up audio for 1.5 minutes. Communication is restored as subject reaches bottom of stairs. The cellar of the farmhouse is unremarkable and typical. Several wooden shelves line the far wall containing unidentified canned substances. Broken light fixtures sway gently from the support beams. Cameras pan across the basement slowly. No evidence of footprints are visible, and the camera can be assumed to have been abandoned for some time. Subject begins to comment about a stench. As subject pans around the area, a metal hatch is visible in the ground, similar to a bulkhead on a submarine with a turn handle. Subject remarks that the smell is at its worst around the hatch, and the dirt around the hatch is known as being clumped and clay-like. The handle of the hatch is old and the paint chipped. Subject coerced into turning the handle, which, when fully turned, opens the hatch. Subject begins coughing at the release of assumed old stale air. When camera is tilted to view down the hatch, it is a white concrete tunnel similar to the one found in the blue experiment, but in much better condition. Subject asked to descend ladder and close hatch behind her. After some convincing, subject agrees to descend but does not close the hatch. Overall concerns about severing the pulley system return. In doing so are acknowledged. Descend down the ladder and trip around to the farmhouse test and soon approximately 53 meters of cable in the bottom is reached. The inside of the hatch appears to be a bunker ill-suited to long-term usage. It is spacious, about the size of an actual cellar itself, about half the size of an actual cellar itself, containing 3 bunks, 1 for a couple and 2 for single use. Several boxes of food are similar to those found in blue marked as cereal. Fill a waste container near a bottom hatch. On the beds are 2 skeletons, and on the floor is a third lying next to which is a simple 6-shooter revolver containing no ammunition. 3 spent casings are across the floor near the gun. The other side of the skeletons is bound but in good condition. This is retrieved and placed on the field tip container upon request. Gun is left alone per request from control. Subject examines more of the bunker, focused on a desk where a newspaper has been cut as into condition. The equipped articles are covered using a field tip container. Little else of interest to be brought back is in the bunker as the camera feed panned around. Trash bags containing clothing and a few children's toys presumably popular 1950s era products are lined up against the wall. Subject is requested to leave the bunker, then sharply asked to wait by a control technician who directs the camera view to an area near the exiting doorway to the hatch. Closer inspection as subject moves in finds that a small area has been fitted with what appears to be an Ethernet jack, a cover of which has been forced slightly away from the wall by a strange amber-like substance. Subject refuses to touch or collect a sample, commenting that it stinks so bad that if they want it, they can come visit themselves. Control declines and subject leaves bunker. As subject grips the ladder to leave, camera pans up for a moment. In the top of the tunnel is a humanoid figure seen peering down. Control asks subject to confirm figure. Subject states nothing is up there and begins to climb. Figure draws out of camera view after first run is touched by subject who ascends without incident. At the top of the tunnel, no other life is seen, and nothing has been disturbed. Subject insists nothing was there and closes the hatch, then immediately vomits. She coughs and uses a supply water bottle to gargle and then freezes and asks Control if Control is hearing that. Control reports no audio. Subject approaches the cellar hatch cautiously with firearm drawn and lifts her head just enough to camera view to view the outside area. In the distance approximately 700 meters from the farm, two massive humanoid beings are crawling around the landscape. These entities do not notice the subject who remains quiet, but whose drawn sidearm is visibly trembling. Subject is requested to remain still and silent as beings move. They are featureless, facing at an angle, moving across a field with no vision until the faces are only visible for a few moments. During this time, it is clear that they have no facial features. The arms they use to drag themselves are short at times and long at others, stretching out to varying lengths each time they move. There is no rear to the beings. All bodily design appears to end in the torso. The two creatures take approximately 10 minutes to disappear into the distance before subject begins to panic and begs to return. Request declined. Subject instructed to enter the home from the cellar and to not leave the home under any circumstances. The fourth floor is entered through a hatch in the ceiling/floor that opens with rusty creaks that cause the subject to pause for 37 seconds before continuing upward and entering the kitchen. A heavy layer of dust coats every item in the kitchen. The refrigerator is left open, all food is spoiled. Adjacent to the kitchen is a living area that subject enters slowly. There is a recliner, a couch, a television, all of which being 1950s style design. In the recliner is a laptop, whose case also resembles 1950s decor and is coated in heavy dust. Opening the laptop reveals the last moments of the operating system Faithful OS, leaving a standby mode immediately shutting off. The laptop has no external power source and will not power back on. When asked to recover laptop, it brings the cushion of the recliner with it. The two stuck together, subject advised to leave the laptop where it is. The inside door leaving the home is nailed shut with thick wood planks. No attempt is made to interact with these. Camera view pans to a staircase leading upwards. Subject ascends the stairs without being asked, and these stairs remain silent to Control's surprise. When subject reaches the top of the stairs, a hallway with two doors is viewed, one on each side. At the end of the hall is a dumbwaiter inlaid into the wall. Subject opens door on left on her own, which opens to a master bedroom. The bed is neatly made, but the wardrobe next to it is thrown open and clothes everywhere on the floor. Subject finds out laid on the bed are several pieces of jewelry and is informed to leave them. She begins to protest and comments that disdain to leave them alone, promptly leaving room. Subject asks to open second door. The second door opens and gives a view of a shared children's room, obviously boy and girl given the types of toys and clothes that are across the floor. There is also a window which subject approaches and wipes with a curtain to clear dust. Subject requested to move camera to a window and does so. Farmland is visible. Approximately 40 kilometers from it at best, a city. As the camera starts to draw back, it pans down and films from it at best guess. Films the area around the house. Approximately 300 figures similar to those in the footage captured during the blue test are visible from around the home, all staring up. Subject asked to confirm figures but states nothing's there. Subject requested to return and quickly agrees. Egress from the house is uneventful. Pulley system shows no erratic behavior. As subject returns to point of pulley's wire origin, a loud droning noise causes the picture to reverberate. Technicians at control report they were only able to hear the noise and experience a vibration. Subject returns through point of origin without investigation, and mirror returns to reflective surface. SCP-093 is relinquished. Video ends. Return newspaper fragments filed as Mirror Test 3, color violet. Subject is D84930, male, 21 years of age, average physique. Subject's background shows instance of second-degree murder of a police officer during a drug bust. Normally, this crime, while severe, would not qualify a person for a sentence that would end up with us. But the murder of the officer was especially brutal and excessive violence was used. This subject was uncooperative and had to be reminded that his operation would only benefit him. Subject entered the provided mirror while holding SCP-093, which emitted a violet color. Outside technicians observed that the mirror attained a true reflection until subject completely passed into it, at which time the view changed into a cityscape. Urban, lightly tinged in purple, similar to the first test. Video feed follows in the attached media. Camera flickers to life and pans around the area. Subject is what appears to be a modern downtown district similar to New York. The streets are mostly bare except for a few cars of unknown make or model. The cars look highly advanced and streamlined. The subject attempts to look into the car windows without being instructed to, but backs away, remarking there's a rank acid stank coming from the areas around most of them. Subject is persuaded to move closer to one car and does so with coughing, wiping off a window which is covered in dirt. The inside of the car appears to be completely filled with a strange brown matter. There is nothing at all visible other than the brown matter. Two other cars produce the same results, however, a fourth vehicle seems more recent than the others, and the insides are immaculate. The doors to this vehicle are unlocked and subject quickly gets inside and shuts the doors. Subject is chastised for his behavior by control who reminds him that his lifeline is nothing more than a cable, which is sturdy enough that closing the car door does not injure it, but it cannot recover a person in motion. Subject argues with control over this issue and pans camera around the dashboard, pointing out he couldn't drive away even if he tried. Dashboard is void of any recognizable controls, no ignition, no steering, and has several small blank screens that are theorized to be GPS system. Subject remains in car while control discusses how to proceed since the city's landscape is far larger than previous test destinations. Control debates this issue while subject stares into the cityscape or from the car. From one pan, a face is clearly visible staring into the car, eyes watching the subject. However, this was not noticed until post-test footage review. Subject has made no comment regarding this entity at this point. Control shortly after informs him subject to remain where he is, and an escort team is dispatched through the mirror to join him. A team of 4 armed personnel is sent through the mirror and proceeds to subject's location. Subject is then instructed to remove his harness, which is recovered. The subject's video feed then ends and is replaced by a wireless unit used by the escort team. The next video quality of this unit is subject to more interference, but in order to mark the mirror exit, a receiver system is placed to the mirror. Subject leaves the car and now travels with the escort team. Given the myriad of possible options, they are instructed to simply move to the closest building and attempt to enter it. This building has etched glass marking doors bearing the name XEA Research Partners Incorporated. The doors are ajar. A magnetic lock system is in place, but has lost power. Team enters the building in the main lobby. The area resembles a stereotypical corporate lobby. There is a C-shaped receptionist desk with a chair pushed far from it as if it was left in a hurry. A PC terminal is at the desk as well. The team approaches the desk as the camera bearer is instructed to examine the PC. The unit does appear to have power and Faithful OS appears on the screen, requesting a login and password. The keyboard is present but is remarkably slim with touch-sensitive keys rather than press-down keys. After one failed attempt, the lock screen replies that maximum attempts have been exceeded and the PC turns off. No actual tower or power button can be located so the team moves forward. Behind the receptionist desk are 2 elevator doors, one to the left and one to the right, with similar touch-sense keys. The elevator on the left is broken, the door open and the shaft empty. The elevator on the right appears functional and has power. Without a clear destination, the team is instructed to proceed to the highest floor and get away to the city. All floors appear to be accessible, with the highest being 114. In reality, 112, 113. In reality, 112, 13, and 113 are missing from the keypad. The journey up the elevator is uneventful during this time. The elevator does not appear to take longer as it passes by 13 and 113, suggesting that the entire floor was built and nothing put on it. As 114 doors open, the team enters a large lounge-type area. There are many couches with dust on them. A wide screen of apparently a LCD TV approximately 60+ inches in size dominates the wall in front of them with no power. A series of windows are open, allowing sunlight at the far end to which the team proceeds and angles the camera outside. The view of the city is astonishing. This building is one of the tallest visible, but certainly not alone in stature. The city below is gray and silent, no evidence of life at this altitude. Some buildings in the city have a strange brown growth that appears to have been splashed on them, as if a gelatinous mass was flung and then slid down before hardening. Other buildings have floors where the glass has been shattered and the same brown substance is seeping out the edges. One member of the team calls the camera bearer to the window on the other side. From the other side of the building, the city edges can be seen. Attention is pointed towards the expressway that encircles the city, which trawls another of the large half-body humanoids dragging itself with elastic arms as witnessed in previous tests. It travels the highway and then moves out of sight. The team returns to the elevator and notes that a button has been activated to floor 74. No one has approached the elevator, so the team agrees to travel to this floor. On the 74th floor, doors open and reveal a waiting area which appears to be a doctor's office. At the receptionist desk, there is a sign-in sheet with a series of names and dates. The dates on the sign-in sheet all carry the year 1953. A PC at the receptionist area is on and functioning at a user desktop. Background for the PC is a large set of praying hands with the word Faithful OS under them. On the desktop are a series of folders with years containing files that, when clicked using the center button of the mouse, open to a Word viewer. All files appear to be appointment information. On the desk, a notepad titled, "From the Desk of Dr. Borziski, Blessed Pure Perfectionist." The door to the doctor's area is sketched with the same name as title as well as a crucifix. Opening this door leads to a white, dust-free hallway that has 2 examination rooms and a key-coded door at the end. The examination rooms are unremarkable and typical of any doctor's office. All medicine cabinets are empty. A small amount of C4 is placed on the lock to the key-coded door at the request of the control team and blown, forcing the door open. The area it opens into is much larger than the receptionist area and seems to contain a series of large containment capsules. A total of 6 of these capsules, 2 are broken and a brownish amber material coats the 4 coming from them. 1 is empty. The last 3 have new humans floating in them with breathing masks. Attached to the front of these tubes are medical charts showing vital signs and conditions. For symptoms, the chart explains in somewhat awkward English ailments that seem more like flaws of personality or character, or just incidents have occurred with the patient. Control asks for a zoom of one of the patient pages on the chart. After focusing, it reads, "Citizen Jennifer Mitsurka did suffer a lapse of the heart and did lead her to lay with her neighbor twice upon nights of her husband's departure from their home. Patient did submit herself towards the Lord in our hands for cleansing of mind and body. Prayer administered by High Father Uwakan, and patient submitted to a 3-day period in the Lord's tears to cleanse your system and then release into the spirits." The topmost page read, "Citizen Alberius Farafan struck out a High Father during a sermon, blaspheming that the Lord's tears didn't turn his daughter to be unright in mind, and thus laying blame for her whorish activities that defeated the High Father and his blessing. With no proof of these blasphemies, the forgiving judge and the punishing judge disagree that Alberius Farafan should bathe in the Lord's tears for himself for a week to be cleansed of mind and soul thus prove his daughter's ways are fault of not the father's hands, and to give him a piece of self. Subject, who has been traveling quietly with the escort team, begins to panic. The camera pans to focus on him, and he's surrounded by entities similar to those witnessed in the first 2 tests. Escort team reports that the subject appears having a panicked attack, but control requests them to stand still and wait. Subject screams at the entities, which are denying exist by a team member, stating subject is alone in the corner. Control requests that one of the team members be dispatched to approach and recover the subject. The escort team member approaches the subject as ordered. On the video, the figures part to make a pathway for the approaching member who lifts subject to his feet and brings him out at the corner. Figures on video are seen closing reins to close their path. Subject is lifted by his feet and arm and escorted through the figures that close the reins when the subject is moved. They remain steadfastly staring at the subject no matter where he moves to. Control requests the team return now. Team turns to leave. Before leaving, a team member mentions something noticed at the reception desk, a binder labeled The Lord's Tears. Request binder be returned as well, and is stowed into subject's field kit. The team returns to the elevator and returns to the ground floor. Upon leaving the building, subject points down the street toward the direction of entry point. The camera pans to a section of raised expressway across which one of the large torsos is crawling slowly. The entity turns its featureless head to look at the escort team, raises its head to the sky, and emits a bellowing sound. Team leader issues the order to move, heading for the spot marked by the wireless video receiver. The creature on the expressway extends its arm down that stretches to the ground before subject moves to the port. All team members save one move to the entry point. Subject moves to the entry point as mirror returns to a reflective surface. SCP-093 is dropped by subject who panics and tries to fight his way out of the room. Subject is terminated by staff leader after he draws the field kit pistol. Team leader requests portal be reopened but it takes several minutes to find someone who can hold SCP-093 and generate a similar color. When a matching color is displayed and applied to the mirror, the video receiver is still visible, and all individuals report a horrific smell. Team leader moves to the entryway with control person. The uniform and possessions of the escort team member who's left behind are present and recovered, but the member himself is nowhere to be seen and does not respond to shouts. Member assumed killed in action and the wireless receiver recovered. Control and escort return through entry point and mirror returns to reflective surface. Later review of the recovered camera shows escort member grasping at the air while entry point should be, and then turning back to look up the oversized torso. A brown gel seems to drip off the creature as it moves, that disappears slowly after being dislodged, as if evaporating. Several shots are fired at the creature's face with the automatic weapon carried by to land in the face of the creature, causing a spray of less viscous brown liquid to pour forth from the wounds. Screams, obscenities at the face of the creature descends upon him and the camera is pushed to the ground. Camera feed remains dark for approximately 65 seconds. Before light comes back in, the camera films the creature crawling back to the expressway before pulling itself onto it, and crawling in the direction it was originally headed. It is believed to be absorbed by the creature and perhaps digested. This may have been an example of how these unknown entities feed by direct contact with living material. Further studies recommended to avoid this issue. Returning ledger filed as Mirror Test 4, color yellow. D-class subjects are no longer authorized for testing. Testing focus has been shifted to data collection after analyzing the articles brought back from the previous 3 tests. To better understand the fate of the world as by SCP-093 and determine if safeguards and practices required for our own world. Analysis of the brown fluid coating the lost team member has been filed with other recovered articles. Dr. has volunteered for this test as out of the possible candidates who was able to cause SCP-096 to undergo color change. 093, sorry. There is no evidence in Dr. background to any illegal or criminal behavior, nor of any psychological problems. When presented to the mirror, the view changed something to that of a cubicle office environment. For this test, the doctor was opted to use a wireless video system and forego the pulley return system, stating that he was confident that he would be safe as none of the torso creatures had been witnessed within the building, where the mirror's destination showed. Video feed commences after the doctor had crossed the mirror. As with prior tests, SCP-093's current color, yellow, tinges all of the video material. Camera flickers to life, and a series of plain white cubicle constructs, approximately 30, are visible. At the far end, from point of entry, is an office module built into the wall with frosted glass door. The doctor approaches this door and investigates with the S-Ray onto its senior manager, Stanley Millamets. The door is unlocked. The doctor enters the office and examines the desk. A coffee cup is on the desk, a dark brown stain covering everything inside as was the liquid evaporated. There's a donut on a plate which the doctor picks up and lobs at a wall. On impact, it thumbs like a rock and falls. A file cabinet in the corner of the room draws the doctor's attention as he goes through each shelf one at a time, stopping in the second drawer, taking out a file, and then going back to the first and taking 2 others. Continuing to the third and fourth drawers, he withdraws 4 additional files and spreads them on the desk. The files are blue writing folders, and he points with his finger at the camera at a symbol on one of the praying hands. He's stating aloud for the camera that all other files are stored in yellow folders. The blue folders are placed in his field kit. The camera is turned to the PC on the desk that is logged in and functional. The doctor comments aloud, wondering where these devices are getting their powers from, as he has noticed no power outlets. The PC's desktop contains a load of faithful OS and even has sounds. Clicks of the mouse followed by soft hymn-like hums and opening of icons followed by angelic bells. The PC fails to yield any useful information to the doctor, who abandoning it leaves the room. Approaching the other end of the office where the doctor presses a button on the wall for an elevator and enters, finding he is on the 34th floor of a building having an unusual number scheme. A keypad layout goes from negative 115 to 115. This includes all floors before pressing the floor button. The doctor requests that the wireless video transponder be moved to the elevator and placed with a construction cone to mark the entry point. A second transponder unit is placed outside each elevator, and the controller is instructed to recover the second unit and seal the test chamber should something happen to him. Then, when all is arranged, he presses down the button for floor negative 115. The descent down the elevator is long, consuming 15 minutes. During this time, the camera experiences one malfunction where the image turns to snow, resorting to show 14 other figures in the elevator. The doctor as video pans around, all of whom move as he moves to allow him space. They remain for 35 seconds. The camera flickers to snow and returns. The doctor is now alone in the elevator, dancing as is assumed by the ducts and displays of the video feed. The doctor pauses to comment on the rise in stench coming from below. At this point, the elevator has reached floor negative 108. The doctor presses negative 110 to interrupt the descent down and exits the floor is reached. Elevator doors open to an enclosed observation deck with several PCs and chairs. All PCs appear to have power. The ceiling to his deck is also glass, and above it another deck is visible. The doctor approaches the monitoring stations and checks one of the PC screens. On the screen is a load of faithful OS and the video feed toggling between 4 different views. The first view is a room of tubes similar to those found in the test violet, which number in the thousands. The second view is a closer-up view of these tubes as camera glides in front of each to monitor the contents. All tubes the camera passes by are broken. The third view is facing the opposite direction as the camera glides vertically, checking the observation station. A total of 10 can be counted, and Doctor is visible as the camera passes down his own station. Lifting up, a hovering camera unit with no visible means of propulsion glides past him. The fourth view shows the camera to the ground floor below the observation deck, where a single astonishingly large torso is crawling in circles, bumping into walls and changing directions. From the video feed, the creature's estimated size is about 6 stories. Returning attention to the contents of the PC, and the doctor moves the video log aside to see a simple text editor that was hidden behind it. A printout of this text was recovered and filed into the field kit. The printout directed the doctor to a safe on 454 and provided a combination. The doctor leaves the observation deck and proceeds to 54 without event, arriving on a cubicled office floor. He proceeds to the desk and mentions in a document that he finds a safe hidden beneath a desk undisturbed. The combination provided opens the safe and reveals a notebook, filed in the field kit. A peculiar revolver has been returned in addition to the 24 rounds of ammo found with it. The doctor proceeds back to the elevator without event and returning to 34. Given the sheer number of floors available to explore, and the vital information obtained from the observation deck, the text is considered over and equipment retrieved. Before entering through the entry point, the doctor investigates a terminal nearby that has power, and finds it shows the exact same screen shown on negative 110 though. It is theorized that the author of the note installed a networked virus to propagate it and spread throughout the building so any PC on the network would be found and the information discovered. The doctor returns to the entry point and the mirror returns to a reflective surface. All materials filed with the other SCP-093 recovered materials. Analysis of and the ammunition for it postponed for a reason or required deconstruction of one of the rounds, and it may be beneficial until testing of SCP-093 is resolved. Video ends. SCP-093 Mirror Test 5, color red. SCP-093 distributed among staff until a new color that could be generated by contact with it. A service technician was able to cause SCP-093 to take on a fierce red hue and glow, much brighter than the object's normal color. Agreed to assist with the test of SCP-093 per the doctor's request, given to a technician for use in this test. When applied to mirror for the test, SCP-093 generates an unknown environment. No color tinge is present at the displayed destination, which is composed of red stonework. The technician enters the mirror and video capture begins. Video flickers to life and the technician, known hereafter as Subject, is viewing a large cylindrical pillar that's rotating on its own. Object is of unknown height and appears to be 1.8 meters in width. Holes are distributed throughout the object at seemingly random intervals. On occasion, a beam of white light is emitted from one of these holes. Turning of the camera finds that one of the beams are connected to a multitude of similar objects to SCP-093 that are part of the room's wall. The room turns out to be cylindrical in shape, with countless copies of SCP-093. Subject turns back to the entry point and finds it is a section of the wall is missing its copy of SCP-093, presumably the one carried with the subject. Other sections of the wall in the inspection are also found to be missing their copies, leading to speculation that this may be some sort of central array. Subject finds a ladder in the floor while examining the room and proceeds down it as controls request. The ladder exits into a large clean room full of computer equipment that appears antiquated compared to the previously encountered equipment. Large computers running on reel-to-reels are clicking and spinning at various locations. The light bulb of unknown means turns on for 10 seconds and turns off. A large CRT monitor displaying singular words in 8 colors, roughly 5-second intervals, while observe the words clean, unclean, clean, clean, lost, unclean flash on the screen. Proceeding through the room ends in a large glass window with another observation deck. This deck looks out over another series of tubes as witnessed before, but far fewer and filled with a blue liquid. What appears to be electrical current dances over many of the tubes at right intervals. At least 5 tubes at first glance are empty and broken. At the observation window, a keyboard is present on a pedestal awaiting a section to be made. The reports available on the screen are tube status, which waits for a numerical input. Reports, situation X549, situation X550, evacuation log, bullshit, agent, report, and facility fire plan. Video expunged. All selections that generally a text were transcribed by subject and verified by a control member who passed through the portal to recover them. This process took approximately 2 hours and video feed was deleted to condenser's response. Recorded documents are filed as video interrupted. Contact lost control subject approximately 30 minutes after departure of control tech. Subject was able to remain in the area and observe the machinery in the containment room to make observations for debriefing. The SCP-093 mirror portal returned to reflective surface prematurely and all video contact with subject was lost. Control room was unable to re-establish due to SCP-093 being across the mirror. A time lapse of 1 minute and 48 seconds recorded before the mirror re-established itself and subject returned to the portal. Subject appeared to be in good health condition despite the time loss, but spoke little. During a media debriefing, subject underwent sudden convulsions and mental staff was alerted. While attempting to subdue subject, he displayed intense strength and used to shoot at one of the debriefing staff, killing them. Guard shot at subject with his firearm into the heart and once in the chest. Subject did not fall. All staff evacuated, and a second shot was fired by subject, which missed. A more heavily armed team entered the briefing room and used automatic weapons to dispatch subject. Reports confirmed the subject did not bleed when shot, but instead leaked in a brown-green substance that seemed to be a mix of solution observed in some containment tubes and the material recovered during Test 3. All further SCP-093 tests have been discontinued while review of materials recovered is in effect. A secondary tape recording device was found to have been activated in the field kit after lots of video feed, and its contents have been filed with the other recovered materials. All materials from SCP-093 testing level are Level 4 classification. Release must be approved by no fewer than Level 4 personnel.